Web browsers, hello and welcome to PC Tips and Tricks. We're going to look at different points concerning the physical memory and virtual memory. But first, prepare yourself a little gourmet coffee, then sit down comfortably First, understand the meaning of the acronym RAM. Understand by random access memory, non-sequential access memory. Computers, random access memory. What to do when signs of insufficient memory. These signs include a drop in performance, notifications of insufficient memory, and display problems. For example, if you try to open a menu in a program, the program may respond slowly or not respond at all. If the menu is displayed, it may not respond. Or it may not display all the items. If you click on a menu item, the menu may also disappear, leaving an empty area on the screen instead of displaying the contents of the document or working file. Understanding these problems, insufficient memory. Your computer is equipped with two types of memory. Random access memory, also known as physical memory, RAM memory module or memory strip. And virtual memory, also known as swap file or paging file. All programs use RAM, but in the absence of sufficient RAM for a program to run, Windows temporarily transfers the information normally contained in RAM to a file that has been created on your hard disk, the paging file. Using this virtual memory frees up enough RAM memory to run programs correctly. Insufficient memory problems occur when your computer no longer has enough RAM and runs out of virtual memory. When you run more programs than the RAM installed, the computer can handle. If a program does not free up the memory, it no longer needs. This problem is called memory overuse or a memory leak. How to avoid these problems. Running a limited number of programs avoids these problems and loss of information. However, it is not always practical and above all frustrating to run a limited number of programs. And it won't necessarily solve memory leaks of some programs. The memory used by certain programs is therefore not completely freed up. The same applies to Windows Explorer. Between them and other elements added to them end up, in the long term, noticeable slowdowns and system instability, sometimes requiring restarting the system. However, there is a solution to solve this problem. You can create a shortcut for Windows Explorer. The action of this shortcut will delete all ProcessIdleTasks.exe and restarts one and another. Shortcut to clear the memory that has been used but not completely freed by certain programs. The system recovers its initial speed. There is no need to reboot. So good? Create your shortcut commands, boost RAM and boost. Explorer in the folder where you go, put the shortcuts, right-click, select New, then Shortcut. Copy and paste the command indicated in the description. Then Next. Enter a name for your shortcut in this example, Boost Explorer, since it concerns Windows Explorer. Then click on Finish. Do the same for the second command. You now have with two shortcuts that will give a boost your cluttered system. This can also indicate that your PC needs more memory to manage your programs. Here are some methods to check where memory problems in case of instability problems. And before testing your RAM, you need to clean it up. Start by switching off the PC, unplug it, lay it flat. Open the side cover, remove the memory modules by pressing on the lugs to dislodge them. Using a cotton bud and a little alcohol, clean the connectors, leave to dry. You can also clean the inside of the slots. Be careful not to leave any residue. After putting everything back in place, we can test your memory. To find out if your memory is faulty in any way, Windows is equipped with MemoryDiagnostics, which will give you initially the necessary information. You can then, if you wish, run another, more in-depth analysis with memtest-86. But first, let's take a look. The diagnostic tool, click on the search icon, type in the search bar, memory. The result is displayed. Select Run as Administrator. Select Laugh Now and check for problems. The interface appears if you want to configure. You need to press F1 on your keyboard to access the options. By default, diagnostics will be performed in 2 passes. The process begins. Depending on your configuration, it will take more or less time. It will still all the same 1 hour or more time for a gourmet coffee break. Once the test is complete, the PC will restart automatically. If you have memory problems, a message such as this one will be displayed. You should take this into account and check your memory modules. Make sure they are properly plugged in. Clean the slots and connectors, and if necessary, replace by installing new RAM. You can access event reports, memory diagnostic reports to do this on your keyboard. Select and hold down the Windows key, then the R to display the command window. Copy and paste the command given in the description. Then click OK. We are now in the event viewer. Click on the arrow to open Windows Log. Select System. Then right-click and select Search, Copy and Paste Memory Diagnostics Results. This will be indicated in the description. Then click on Next. Your results will appear in the window 2 in number, as there were 2 passes. Double-click on the result to display the properties of the event. You are now informed about the good or bad health of your RAM. In video ND437, create your Medicat USB first aid kit. You will be able to use the Memtest 86 Plus software, which is included. Warning: allow several hours. If you really have a fault on one or more modules, it will be displayed normally quite quickly. Let's have a look now. What it looks like when you boot on the USB device. Select F8 or other keys depending on your motherboard. See the tabloid to access the quick start. Menu peripherals. Select your USB key, then click on OK. As I said, beautiful work. A beautiful interface welcomes us. Here you have an indication on the type of system. You are on UEFI or BIOS. Antivirus software, data backup and data recovery software. Tools to prevent computer startup, operating systems in live mode, diagnostic tools, software for disk partitioning software, tools for resetting the password of a user account, comprehensive software. To have on hand. How much memory should you install? Several factors to take into account. You can already check with the SpecC software. Yes, because not everyone knows all the components of their PC. The maximum RAM capacity supported by each slot in GB and MES, which is supported by your motherboard. Although recent, are all 64-bit. As a reminder and for information for the noobs, an operating system in 32 bits, W7, W8, W10 cannot manage more than 3.25 GB, so there's no need to add more. A 64-bit computer can manage up to 16 million terabytes, limited to 128 GB on Microsoft systems, but your motherboard can handle that much. Do you want to increase your PC's RAM because it's starting to show signs of slowing down when running processes? Yes, but be careful. In fact, there are several will need to be taken into account when you want to increase memory capacity to avoid disappointment and make the most of their performance. Otherwise, you may find that even after activating the memory remap function, understand by opening the memory remap, the system information remains unchanged. In other words, you will have all memory installed displayed, but you will be told that only part of it will be usable. As in this example, this is still a minority, since after Windows 7, the maximum support capacity operating system went from 816 GB, 128 GB minimum Windows 8, Windows 11 from now on, which will leave you on that front. And if you're still on Windows 7 and you have a problem of this kind, the easiest thing to do would be to migrate to Windows 11. Your newly installed memory will be fully recognized. See video N469 on the migration process. To access the reorganization your memory, go to in the system configuration. Under W10, W11, click on the search icon, indicated in the search bar msconfig, then confirm. by pressing the Enter key on your keyboard or click on Open. Here we are. Select the Start tab, then Advanced Options. The box will be indexed to fully open memory organization. Indicate the sum of your RAM in MB. To do this, multiply the number GB you have of RAM by 1024. Then de-index the box. Then restart your PC to take into account of the change. I return to the system information. That's it. Managing of the entire memory is activated. Pagination file exchange, paging or virtual memory. The paging file is a mechanism that allows Windows to accommodate the PC's limitations in physical memory. Windows stores on the hard disk what it would normally store in RAM. Windows D places the data from the swap file to memory according to its needs and moves data from memory to the swap file when it needs to free up space for new data. The problem is that this file can grow in size as it is used. The negative effects of this obesity are a consequence of your system because reading information is inevitably slower. Another problem this file poses is security. This is because information is stored in it and can be used by malicious people. On Windows, a number of executions are present, but not necessarily activated. For virtual memory, the same applies. The problem is that anyone can copy and analyze it to extract sensitive information such as passwords, for example, as long as this data does not exceed 4 KB. Not easy, but feasible for anyone who wants to. However, it is possible to encrypt it to make it secure. Warning: your hard disk must be in NTFS format. Click on the search icon. Then type in the search bar regedit. Select Run as Administrator. Let's move on to activation. Copy and paste the path indicated in the description. The value where is here. It is NTFSEncryptPagingFile. Right. Click on the value, then select Modify. Enter the data for the value, changing it from 0 to 1. Then click on OK. You can also save the key before and after modification. Right-click on the key, then select Export. Open the path to your backup folder. Name your file so that you can find it easily. You can close the tree and exit regedit. You will need to restart your PC to take account of the modification. At the risk of sounding paranoid, you never know. Your file is now secure. Cleaning the Exchange file at standstill. The solution is to clean up the Exchange file at shutdown of your PC. This also offers the advantage of deleting personal data stored in this file. This eliminates any risk of malicious actions additional, and what's more, this allows you to leave with an empty Exchange file at startup. To do this, click on Start and in the search box, type regedit. Select Run as Administrator. Navigate to the key by copying and pasting what is indicated in the description. Modify the value ClearPageFileAtShutdown value from 0 to 1, then click on OK. Close the tree and regedit. Note that shutting down your PC will take a little longer than usual. Whether full or empty, Windows manages the whole Exchange file. This is an elongation of the RAM, increasing the size of the pagination file. Windows is set by default to dynamically manage the size of its Exchange file.
Give a fixed size according to the values indicated as recommended, or other values of your choice, even if they increase the size of the pagination file. Avoids the problems of insufficient memory. It can also slow down the execution of your programs, as your computer reads the information contained in RAM faster than the information storage memory where the paging file. Too large an increased virtual memory available for BE programs can slow them down. This will have the opposite effect. It is therefore advisable to tests should be carried out. Deleting the swap file from the boot partition can cause problems because if there is not enough advanced memory, in the event of interruption of the PC, the data may not be saved. Depending on your PC configuration, it may be good to start again the Exchange file on several media in such a way that the total amount is distributed and reduced on each medium. Writing and reading is therefore minimized. Some may say that it will reduce the health and life of NVMe SSD. However, when you're configuring a PC, there's always a choice to be made and you have to keep things in perspective. Once you've reached the end of the number of reads and writes of your NVMe SSDs, it's going to be a few years. So the idea is to put a swap file on the boot partition, disk C or system disk, and one or two others on another partition, preferably on an SSD and or SSD NVMe. Fast. Choose a medium that is not too busy to get better performance. Depending on your PC configuration, you will need to test settings over a week or more to ensure overall stable and efficient. Windows is set up to manage the Exchange file whenever there is a need virtual memory. The best performing Exchange file will be used to customize and add an Exchange file. Click on the search icon, indicate in the search bar System. Select Show Advanced System Settings in Performance. Select Settings, click on the Advanced tab, then click on Modify. To be able to configure, uncheck Automatic Management. You have a reference value. Depending on your choice, select the storage medium for the first, second, and third paging file. As mentioned previously, prefer an SSD or SSD NVMe. Allocate a fixed value, select custom sizes, divide the recommended value by 2 or 3, depending on your choice distribution. Indicate the fixed value according to the chosen medium. Indicate the value chosen in these two boxes. Then to finish, click on Define, then click on OK. You can invest on other media. A message will tell you that you need to restart your PC so that the change you have made install more RAM. After checking all the solutions previously mentioned to overcome the problems without slowing down the PC, the solution would obviously be to add or replace one or more memory modules depending
on the initial configuration. In fact, several parameters to take into account when you want to increase your RAM capacity depending on your configuration. The management capacity of its motherboard per slot, and total in GB and memory generation DDR2, DDR3, DDR4, DDR5 understanding. DDR by double data rate, having a version of Windows 32 or 64-bit version of Windows to the additional RAM capacity installed as mentioned above 32-bit versions of Windows versions. Cannot support more than 3.25 GB in total. You should also check memory capacity managed by your version of Windows 7, 64-bit basic, home, family, pro for example W7, family 16 GB max. W7 Professional 32 GB max. Check the information for your motherboard on the manufacturer's website or the information via software or other means. Memory installation in pairs or more same reference. This doubles memory bandwidth, commonly known as bi-channel or quad-channel. Having more channels means having a wider bandwidth. It's obvious that a wider bandwidth means faster data transfer and therefore better performance. The idea is that using of 2 or 4 low-capacity modules would be a more efficient solution than a Single module, high capacity module A. Configuration 2 module or 4 module memory modules. Automatically, this enables the transfer of information in a given time. What difference does this really make in practice? The reasons why dual channel and quad channel would be interesting. The first is the most obvious, why you would want to choose a kit of modules with 2 or 4 channels rather than a single high capacity RAM module. Above all, it's the price. In fact, several RAM modules with a total capacity of 16 GB end up being cheaper than a single, one of the same capacity, so you can save a few euros this way. Low capacity modules are cheaper to manufacture. And as a result, a 2x8 GB or 444 GB kit will end up being cheaper than a single module 16 GB RAM module. But that's not all. Not only are they are cheaper from the outset, but multi-channel configurations can make your life easier in the event of hardware failure. If only one of your 2 or 4 RAM modules fails, you'll always have functional RAM to run your PC until you can get a replacement. Which is no mean feat, isn't it? Which will not be the case when choosing a single module. As mentioned above, make the right ratio of the maximum amount memory you can install in your the cost of purchasing, which will put the brakes on your enthusiasm. Preferably, of course, a module installation with values in GB and MHZ values than the one previously installed, and of course support in relation motherboard for PCs with Windows 10 or 11. Depending on your PC configuration, you may be able to deactivate the memory compression function. This may be an improvement as it depends on each PC. You'll have to try and see if there is a clear improvement or not. To do this, click on the search icon, then type in the search bar PowerShell. Select Run as Administrator. Here we are. Specify the following get-mmagent, then select the Enter key on your keyboard. We see that memory compression is enabled. To deactivate it, specify the following disable-mmagent, MC, then select the Enter key. You will need to restart your PC for the modification of the change made. You can make the most of your memory sticks by changing the timings. This is called overclocking. Bear in mind that the gains obtained are much smaller than those obtained by overclocking the processor. While the risks of instability are present, you need to go into the BIOS and change the RAM settings. Basic overclocking is the simplest, but also perfectly stable is the XMP, DOCP and EOCP modes. XMP stands for Extreme Memory Profile. EOCP stands for Extended Overclock Profiles. DOCP stands for Direct Overclock Profile. This is the recommended mode to get the most of your memory sticks for those who want to go further. You can manually RAM frequency manually. Generally speaking, it's better to increase the frequency than to reduce the timings. Bear in mind that this modification does not exceed 10% in the best of cases. For those who already use XMP mode, restart your PC, then press repeatedly on the access key to BIOS UEFI. In general, the delete, of course. I'll show you a preview on my PC via a UEFI on an Asus card. You will need to look for, depending on your configuration. Select the tab Extreme Tweaker to understand by extreme tweaking. In overclocking pre-configuration, select AI Overclock Tuner or other depending on your UEFI. Click to display the drop-down menu, select DOCP. Click to display the drop-down menu. You may have the choice between several profiles. In my case, I only have one possible profile, but you can raise the frequency here. Once you've made your choice, press F10 key on your keyboard to confirm your changes. Then press the on your keyboard. We've covered of what you need to know: RAM and virtual memory. Don't forget that your electronic components are fragile, and which goes without saying not. Thomas, treat them. Ventilate your PC with a good flow of air. Arrange for the best possible cooling possible, because you can have the best memory modules available. If they're used incorrectly, they won't offer you their full potential and will eventually degrade faster. This video is coming to an end. I hope you have enjoyed this informative video. See you soon in the next video.